Gratitude. Thank you for joining Chats Along the Path with discussions about the 7 transformative practices of the 7-Way Path. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, inviting you to heal, grow, and transform with the 7-Way Path. Thank you for walking the path, and best wishes for your journey. Nature. Welcome to this episode of Chats Along the Path. In this episode, we are speaking with Heidi Lesiw. Heidi is a certified life and empowerment coach and founder of Coaching with Heidi, based in Bristol in southwest England. Heidi takes ambitious women on a journey of self-discovery to help them feel more empowered, increase self-belief, and show up authentically to have the confidence to live the life they truly want. And Heidi is here to chat with us about gratitude. Heidi, welcome to Chats Along the Path. So honored to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Christian. It's a pleasure. I'm very excited about having this chat all about gratitude today.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So Heidi, let's just please start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about your gratitude practice.
Great. So as your bio said, I am a life empowerment coach for women. I am 29 and living in Bristol in the UK, and I have worked in corporate roles for the past sort of 7 years of my life. And during that time, there's been ups and downs, of course, in the world of corporate. But I really enjoyed, in the last few years of me working in corporate, I became a manager. And I really enjoyed watching people thrive and reach their full potential and go up in, get promotions and things all through the coaching that they received through one-to-ones with me. So it kind of made sense for me to kind of branch into that further. So back in 2021, I started to really, I guess, think about myself and what I really wanted to do in life. And I realized that maybe corporate wasn't quite fully aligned with me. And actually, I decided to just bite the bullet. And in September last year, I quit my corporate job and took coaching full time. I haven't really looked back. I also dance coach as well. So I'm a dance coach in primary schools. So I'm quite multi-passionate. But yeah, it's been obviously a big journey to go from working in a corporate environment to sort of self-employed life. And that's almost where the core thing that's kept me going is my gratitude practice and the feelings of gratitude. It's one of the core things that there's a million things you can do as part of a daily ritual, for example, but it's the main thing that's really been consistent for me and really helped me sort of help towards lots of other things, help towards making that decision to change career paths and move forwards. And I also had quite a lot of a few other kind of bumps in the road a few years ago in corporate, where I kind of signed off of work and I went through a lot of burnout and my own sort of anxieties and depression. And again, that is where I think gratitude was the first thing I learned about and reached for. Then I sort of got better and kind of got back into work and then decided to do this. So it's just something that's kind of been, under the surface for all that time, but it's helped me through a lot of different things in life.
Wow, that's really great, Heidi. Thank you. So it sounds like your gratitude practice is something that you've been doing for quite a while. Can you take us back to that time when you were deciding whether or not the place you were in corporate was the right fit for you and you were considering leaving? You had said that gratitude was really helpful in that decision. Can you take us back to that moment and talk with us about that and how you used gratitude to help move you forward?
Yeah, so that was obviously back, it's coming up to a year ago now. I was in that place sort of last May, June, July time, sort of last summertime. And as I said, it was sort of that feeling in the body that I wasn't really fully aligned with not just the job I was necessarily doing, but even whether, like I said, the corporate world was right for me. And at the time, I was speaking quite openly with my manager about, maybe changing role in the organization or doing something different. And we tried, brainstorming and thinking about other places that I could fit in the organization. And obviously, like I say, it's quite a scary moment to be like, oh, nothing's really sitting well for me. Like nothing feels like a natural progression step. Everything feels like a side step or like I'm starting again. And actually, the more I thought about it, the more just nothing was really, sinking in. But obviously there was there was this thing that I was doing every morning. And it was what gratitude I think for me did back then was remind me of the things I had. So I think for a long time, I would put my job and my career on a really high pedestal, and I would almost make it mean my whole identity. So I was only successful if I was successful at work. I was only, doing well and validating myself through the work I did at work. And what gratitude did was help ground me in the sense that actually, Heidi, yes, it has helped you. Your job has helped you get where you are today. And that's amazing, but there's so much more going on in your life, and there's so many other things that are amazing in your life. So what the gratitude was doing is helping me, like, remind me of the things I already had that were great, and the things that wouldn't change even if I was to change my job. So yes, the job allowed me to purchase my own home a few years ago, but then that wasn't going to change. I was still going to live in this house. So it was just reminding myself of the really small things that you sometimes take for granted. And I think a lot of people, you don't really think about the small things around you because you're always thinking about the next big thing. And I think that for me, that was a really good time to just actually think, no, I've got lots of good things in my life. Let's just sort of bring it back to the small things in life. So being thankful for the home that I live in, and being thankful for the family and the support network I have around me, and just being thankful that I have this opportunity to decide if I want to change jobs. And like I have that opportunity, that ability, I have the education, I have all these things. And suddenly you can start racking up a list of so many things that you already have, and the job just kind of goes into the distance as like one other thing that you have. And I think when I was quite nervous about changing, I would come back to gratitude in terms of my job. So I'd be like, well, I'm really grateful that I have a job right now that's allowing me to pay my bills, but also giving me the opportunity to not have money worries and focus on building another thing. So what I was also doing is using gratitude to still go to work every day, but know that I was having the opportunity to build my business in the background. And even though that was taking obviously a lot of time and energy, I knew that I had to be thankful for the job that I was in, to allow me to make the step to take the coaching full time, and that to become my new job. So if I hadn't been grateful and thankful for the job I was in at the time, and be thankful for the little things it gave me and the big things it gave me in terms of, financial security, then I may have just stuck it out because I would have been too scared to take the leap. Whereas knowing that other things weren't going to change and that I could still have these wonderful, grateful things now that didn't make a difference whether I worked here or there, they were still here grounding me in the everyday. That was sort of the main thing that happened. So I was just doing really simple stuff, like nothing profound, but just writing out like 3 to 5 things every morning that I was grateful for, and making sure that they were slightly different each day. And that was like enough. At the time, that was enough to sort of support me in that decision making, and support me in keep grounding me back in the moment, and say, like, even if this happens, you're still grateful for even the opportunities that your job has given you. And even though you're not enjoying it now, there has been good times with it. You've made friends, like there's all these things coming off of it. And all these people that were really supportive, because my manager my manager actually was so supportive of me wanting to start my own thing and my own venture. And again, if I hadn't taken a step back and been thankful for that, again, I probably wouldn't even have let that thought pass my mind. Even now, we're still in contact. So we didn't leave on bad terms or anything. Like, we're still in contact now with my manager from before, because that was all part of the process. Like, it was all part of that positive transition and being grateful for every moment and every step of that decision process, even though it was scary. It was knowing that I had gratitude to always fall back on, to know that I was going in the right direction. Mm.
Wow, Heidi, I love this. And I love this because, here you were at a point of life change, and you are actively using gratitude in order to help you move on to what's next. I think a lot of people, when they hear your story, might think, oh, Heidi, if you express gratitude for your job, doesn't that mean that you're going to want to stay there? You're going to realize how great it is and not want to leave. And I think sometimes when we have those moments, for some people they hear, "Oh, use gratitude," but I don't get how that's going to help in the situation. And I think your experience just like really clearly explains that and shows that, portrays how powerful it can be to use gratitude in those moments of life change and going to move on, and how it really doesn't serve to hold you back, but rather really does and can serve to move you forward.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah. So Heidi, thank you for sharing that profound experience with us. Now, Heidi, you had said that you've been using gratitude for a long time. So it also sounds to me like you were already using gratitude before this life change experience. And so, was this something that was already ingrained in you, that when you got to this point of transition, that you said, aha, of course I'm going to use gratitude? Or was it the kind of thing where you had to purposefully, intentionally use gratitude in that moment? Or was it just a second nature kind of thing by that point?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I kind of want to be like a mixture of both, because there was an element of just like naturally being like, yeah, that's part of my daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, like setup of my brain and how my brain works and how I want to support myself. But at the same time, there was definitely an element of having to intentionally remind myself of the tools and techniques that I had, because it was such a big life change. So it was sort of actively, intentionally making time for it, like making sure it was something I was doing, and it was obviously intentional towards the specific part of my life that I was working on at that time. Before, I was just using it as sort of like a mental health check-in, or a way to just sort of, again, ground myself, reduce sort of anxiety or things like that. But this time round it was a more intentional move, even though it was sort of part of my practice. It was more, I have to like, right, intentionally, what am I going to do to support myself through this whole scenario that I'm going through? What tools and techniques can I go back to that I've learned in the past? And obviously, this is one of the ones that mainly resonates, is the gratitude and the gratitude journaling. So that's mainly one of the ones that resonates with me. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, because yeah, it was sort of second nature, but at the same time, it was intentional to actually put it towards this specific area of my life and make sure I was giving time to it. And it was something that was happening as more of a practice rather than just ad hoc, which maybe in the past it was a bit more ad hoc as to when I needed it for my own mental health in the past.
Wow, Heidi, I love that. And was there like anyone, and I don't know if you can remember this, Heidi, looking back, at that point, was there any one moment or trigger that said to you, yes, I need to be using gratitude for this life change? Um, or was it just something that just kind of happened? Do you remember?
I'm trying to think. I think it was just quite general, but obviously at that time of making that decision, I had started coaching. So I'd very just tentatively started my coaching practice, and I had one client in the March, April, and that was also, part of that journey of like saying, okay, I've had a client, I know I can do this. So, but as part of that, obviously I was supporting her in the sessions that I was running with her. And obviously part of that was instilling certain daily rituals to slow down, and one of those was gratitude. So potentially at the same time that obviously I was coaching someone through their scenario and teaching them techniques in the March, April, it was probably the same thing happening, yeah, in the March, April, and it's now happening like this a month later. So I feel like, yeah, it probably was subliminally connected in some way. And sometimes when you coach, like when I coach, sometimes you do forget you coach people the things and you don't always remember to do them yourself. So I feel like that was probably something telling me that you're coaching this person, but this is a reminder that you also have this tool and you should be using it too. So that's probably what that was, to be fair. Some sort of
Yeah.
subliminal message happening.
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much. I love it. So, Heidi, talk to us about the specifics of your gratitude practice. What does it look like?
So, um, as I said, I do keep it quite simple. I'm not going to lie. Like, so most of the time, most mornings, I like to do it in the morning, but obviously it's up to you if you do it throughout the day or the last thing before bed to empty your mind. But I am someone that just really enjoys waking up in the morning and either grabbing a blank notebook or journal. That's one option. And what you can do in that is just what I sometimes do is just like say write one, three, or five things that you are grateful for. And that can be as basic as like for me, I've done like I'm really when it was winter time, I'd be like, oh, I'm really grateful for my slippers, or like I'm really grateful for my hot water for my shower, or whatever it might be that's more about the cozy things that I needed at that time. I'd be grateful for that. And then yeah, that's kind of what you can do. And I always tell people to start with, one. If you can start with one thing a day, and then you can keep leveling that up to three, and then five, and then ideally 10. I still haven't really got to the 10 things a day part. I think that's quite extreme. But the whole point is obviously the more you can write, the more likely people say obviously the more grateful you are, the more you'll receive back in return, or the more joy you bring into your life or put out into the world. That's mainly what I do. But what you can do as well, I actually have a gratitude journal that I actually got from Amazon, which is really good. It's called the 5 Minute Gratitude Journal, and it's by a lady called Sophia Godkin. She's got a PhD in many sciences and psychology, and she is great. And that journal is a bit more structured, and I do quite like prompts and structure. So what I love about her journal is that she has already given you a space to write the date at the top. And then she gives you the opportunity. She writes sort of 4 prompts for you to answer each day, but she also provides a really beautiful quote at the beginning of each day, and also like a statement at the bottom as well, almost like an intention for the day. So for me, I am someone that would even, Google or go on Pinterest and find gratitude journal prompts. And it might be like, you know, tell me about, a time in your life you're most proud of, or a memory that's really unforgettable, or yeah, what's one thing this week or today that you are really happy about, or yeah, like the moment I feel most alive, or something about yourself, like, oh, I'm really glad that I'm able to X, or like my favorite attribute is why. Um, or it could be even as simple as like, yeah, one simple is something like one reason why you're like grateful for living in the place that you live. Like we were talking about obviously Bristol earlier. So like one reason you're grateful for living in the city that you live in. So yeah, I do quite like journal prompts. So for me, it'll be a mixture of either just writing out 3 things I'm grateful for, or if I have, she says obviously 5 minutes. If you have 5 minutes, or you can give a bit more time to it, then maybe just find a few journal prompts and write a little bit more. But I don't always do that every day. So that's sort of my general practice, is just sort of every morning doing that. The other option is if you are a bit more techie, then obviously people have their phones on them all the time. So I know a lot of people that do like to have a gratitude list on their mobile. And what they do is they just create one, like on their like notes section, you can just have like gratitude, and then they just keep adding to it every day. And then by the end of like a month, you'll have just this massive list of gratitude, which is obviously really beautiful. And you can obviously reflect on that and go back over it. But that's also an option if you don't like writing in a notebook, you could just use a mobile phone. But the other thing I was going to mention is you can also write. So as part of me, as a part of my coaching and a bit of my personal development journey, I've obviously learned a bit more about manifestation and also the idea of scripting. So the other thing that I've been learning about recently is, talking about things you're grateful for as if they've already happened, to bring them into the world. So another thing that I sometimes or quite often use is, after I've written 3 things that I'm grateful for now, I will then write, I am so grateful and happy now that I. And so you're almost writing, yeah, in that way that, yeah, you're still writing it like it's happening, but obviously it's something that you want in the future. And again, that's just putting things out into the universe. It may not, it may not happen, it may happen, whatever it might be. But again, the more you can repeat the same things, or the more detailed. So I would almost give longer to this, like, as long as you want to, up to half an hour, whatever. But even like 10 minutes of proper journaling, where you're actually talking about all the things that you have in your life that you don't actually have right now, but you're writing them as if you do. That's just a real way to like boost your positivity, like boost your mindset, and also just really think about your future goals and desires, and really trying to bring them into your forefront, and like into your kind of, the forefront of your mind, as you go about your day, so that you know why you're doing what you're doing, like why you're putting yourself through something, or the journey you're going through, help build it up. But yeah, so that's kind of my main thing, is 3 things in the morning. But I do use journal prompts and other gratitude journals, and I'm always open to hearing obviously from people that use gratitude journals, or like of any good people that create good journals, because I do love a prompt, and that just helps more kind of ideas flow, or just helps you remember. It's just a really nice way actually thinking about things in your past that you don't think about on a daily basis, and then you think, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that opportunity happened. How have I not remembered that? And it's just, we don't recall things, and sometimes things in our past then be the reason that you're going to make that change in the future. So certain things in your life that you might be like, this is awful, it's a weird one, you're not grateful that it's happening, because it's horrible what's happening, but at the same time it spurred you on to what you're doing now. So yeah, it really just kind of like, there's a lots there, I guess, to try out.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful things there. That is really awesome. And we have listeners who are interested in manifestation, and interested in journaling, and interested in gratitude. And so if we can combine all of those things together into one, that's pretty awesome. What a powerful practice. I love all of those tips, Heidi, and I'm positive that they are resonating with listeners who are saying, oh yeah, that all sounds really cool. So Heidi, talk to me about the benefits that you have seen in your own life, if there have been any. I mean, and I'm assuming there are, because here's why. You started doing this during your career change, during your major life change, and you've stuck with it. So it must be having some kind of a positive impact on you. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you say it like that, yeah, without really thinking about it, it is having a positive impact. It's definitely strengthened my mindset. I think it's in a weird way has helped build resilience towards other things. So when difficult things arise in life, I just have more of, yeah, a stronger mindset to handle it. Or I have a tool to go back to be like, breathe for a moment, slow down, do some gratitude journaling, and everything will be okay. I think it's just almost like that security of something to go back to. But yeah, it's definitely supported with my mindset in general. Um, as I was just alluding to then, it kind of helps you with finding. I'm very much a believer, obviously, of finding small joys in every day, and sometimes that can just come through gratitude journaling. And if I'm having quite a bad day and I haven't really had anything very joyful happen, that's another reason to gratitude journal, because that's like that becomes your joy of the day. Um, and as I said, like sometimes the gratitude helps remind you of things that you've had in your past or do have that you sort of forget about. Um, so yeah, I think it just helps you practice positivity, and it's helped me just, yeah, flip my mindset from negative to positive in certain scenarios, and just, yeah, help me give thanks to the small things that we have in life that can really lead up to bigger things in life. So yeah, and I think as well, I've had this whole struggle with when I became self-employed, there was a lot, I had a lot of struggle with the idea of validation and needing validation that came from my job. So, you know, having praise from a manager or having validation from others, colleagues, whoever it might be. And I think in a weird way, it has sort of helped me stop searching as much for that type of external validation and happiness, and more remind me of the things I have now that are making me happy, or, you know, shows me the great things in my life that I have now, which means I don't need the external validation. Not that the gratitude provides me validation, but that by knowing about things that I do have, it just kind of slightly has helped, I think, on that idea of not chasing for external things, because actually you've got everything you need and you have enough. We all have, like, okay, I appreciate not everyone in the world right now has enough, but me personally and people that I work with have enough. And sometimes we don't realize how lucky we are, or, like, you know, we're not always that grateful for everything that we have, but we don't have certain daily struggles that other people in the world do. So I think, yeah, for me it was just really good to just put everything back into perspective and just really appreciate everything a lot more, like moment to moment. And I haven't really also mentioned it because obviously I'm quite a positive person, but my mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer last year. And I think this is what I was sort of alluding to a minute ago, where I was saying how it's difficult to be grateful for something like that. How can you be grateful for terminal cancer upon anyone? I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. But in a strange way, that made me realize that life is a little bit too short, and made me realize that if I don't take the opportunity now to, you know, do what I want to do and live in alignment and come become a coach. And in a weird way, my mum also said that, you know, in her life, if she had her life over again, that's probably what she would have gone to do. She would have wanted to help people. And she has got such a strong mindset. Like, I've seen that during this situation she's going through and continues to go through. And she's just, yeah, surviving off of this massive strength of a mindset. And clearly that's something I is instilled in me, and it's kind of what I want to share. So her legacy, like, when eventually, unfortunately, she obviously will pass due to the illness, but when that happens, I know that part of her will live on, because I'm making sure that that happens in my business and how I support people. And I know that when that kind of time comes and grief comes, I know that gratitude will probably be one of the things that I have to hold on to. And that's again something that, with the mum situation in the past year, like alongside starting the business, I think the gratitude has also helped me, you know, be really grateful for all the time I've had with her, for the 30 years that I've had with her. And I just, whenever I get to that point of like needing to let go and be in my emotions around that, it's great. But whenever I do need to sort of just, like, come back to me and get on with my business. I know that I can reach to gratitude to do that. And that's where the journal prompts have really helped, like especially the journal that I'm using, because some of those prompts have been more profound than I've realized because of what I'm going through right now. And you won't know what prompt's coming up, and then you'll go through the journal and then just hit one and you'll be like, oh, that's really powerful for me today, because that reminds me of mum, or that'll be a memory with mum. So yeah, it's interesting how I didn't know I needed it, and then I think weirdly this has been put in my path for a reason. And then I think everything that I'm learning is again for a reason. Like there's going to be, I'll look back at this moment in years to come and there'll be reasons that we're doing all of this. So yeah, like it's definitely, gratitude is definitely more powerful, I think, than people. It's a really powerful tool that I don't think everyone realizes. People think it's still a bit airy fairy or don't really understand what's going on, but honestly, like to me, it's a really powerful tool and it has a lot of impact. And even if you aren't going through like what I've gone through, like big life changes or big, terminal illness in a family member, you can still use it, even if you're using it for just to feel positive, like just to feel positive and be happy and spread positivity and joy. Like that's enough, and that will still give you a boost. Whether you think you're having a great life, whether you still think you're in it, you are enjoying your life, you have a good life, you can always have a better life, like by instilling gratitude. For sure, for sure.
Heidi, that is incredibly profound. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I want to send blessings to your mom and to you as well and your whole family. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was actually my next question, was
Oh.
to ask about that experience that you just so eloquently discussed when we have something that's challenging or negative. And you had mentioned previously about how the challenge of being grateful for that, and we can simply be grateful for it propelling us, that experience propelling us onto something else. And I think that is just such an incredible way to talk about it. Your experience, I think, just brings that into such clear focus to show us that, yes, this is a challenging situation. Of course, this is nothing that anyone ever wants. And yet, still, you are finding the gratitude in that. And even, Heidi, the gratitude beyond that. So, the future gratitude in how that experience has shaped you now, I think is so incredibly profound. Heidi, thank you so much for sharing that with all of us, because truly that just illustrates exactly what it means to use gratitude during those incredibly challenging times that we all experience on our path. So Heidi, thank you. I have a deep well of thanks for you sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a platform to sort of feel comfortable to share that, because it doesn't always just come up. But I felt like it really resonated with what we've been discussing, and it just to tell people, listeners or whoever's listening, like it is what it is. But there are tools and there are things that we can do to help our mindset and help us through it. Even if you feel really, really alone, the having gratitude makes you just feel a little bit less alone, in that respect as well. But thank you, for taking the time to listen to it.
Wow. And this is a great gem too, gratitude helping you to feel less alone. That is powerful as well. Wow, Heidi, you've got a lot of great things to say about gratitude. I have so many more questions. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you have clients to get to, but Heidi, I want to go back to this idea of scripting, because I know listeners are going to want to hear more about that, and using scripting and gratitude together to help us manifest. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so Yeah, so scripting, it's a journal technique. And again, I think it is a really powerful tool, where you basically are writing things that have yet to happen, um, but that you would like to happen in the future. And what we're trying to confirm here is putting things, again, if you're not, if you're quite new to this, then it's obviously going to be quite like, wow, this is really new. But it's, if you do believe in, the universe, or there being a higher being or something out there that's supporting you in life, then what this is meant to do is put those thoughts out there, whether it's a goal or an intention that you want to receive in life, you're putting out there, you're putting it down on paper, you're letting the universe know that you are serious about this. This is something that you really want. Um, and therefore, it should help. You're co-creating with the universe. You putting that down and taking actions in alignment with that goal that you've written down is more likely for the universe to be listening and be like, oh, they're really serious about this. Let's try and help them make this happen. And that's almost how manifestation happens, where you are putting out your goals or desires out into the universe for them to then come true, or for them to come into fruition. And the reason it's lovely to bring gratitude into that is because then you add feeling to it. And when you add feeling to something that you want, again, it's even more likely to happen, because if your body is also in alignment with feeling positive or in a high vibe state, then as you're writing, I'm so happy and grateful that I get to X and XYZ and whatever that might be. You get to do that now. You're writing in the present tense. It's like it's already happened, and you keep repeating the same thing every day. Then it's likely that eventually, in our own divine timing of the universe, that eventually it will come to fruition. And yeah, like it can be small things. It can be really small things. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm also a dance coach. So I coach kids in primary schools, but that's a very new thing. I started that in March. I love dance, big passion of mine. I've always done things voluntarily. But when I obviously became a freelance self-employed person and started my coaching business, I knew I wasn't going to instantly have like continuous clients and maybe enough to pay the bills. So I knew I needed to bring something else in. So I was, taking action, trying to look for a part-time job. But then it came to me that I needed to find something that actually was, I'd like to not just work in a coffee shop. I wanted to find something that was going to be in alignment with what I enjoyed. So I started scripting how grateful I was to have a job that I could go to that balanced, that was, I was self-employed, that I had flexible hours that I could do alongside my coaching practice. And then this job just fell into my lap through a Facebook group that I'm part of. I applied for it, sent a CV, and I didn't even have to interview. I was just offered the role the next day. So to me, I do believe that I manifested that opportunity, because it was very random. Like it just came up, and after a month, I just completely forgot about it. And then I got an email, and then suddenly I had the job. And that's literally what happens. And that's the other thing with scripting and putting things out. You do need to sort of have an there's lots of layers to it, but ideally you write it all out, but then you also let it go. You also don't put pressure on it. You don't put pressure on a time scale. It will happen in its own timing. So yeah, you can literally do it about anything in your life. But ideally, you also need to be taking action in that way. So obviously for me, I was applying for jobs. So I was taking action. So the universe knew I was serious. The universe knew that I was trying to align to something else. It knew that I was taking this seriously. But you can write about anything. I've written pages and pages about my future life, like the house I'm going to live in, the dog I'm going to have. I've written about, my coaching business, where it's going to take me, opportunities I'm going to have. And to be honest, like part of that is a lot of speaking opportunities. And lately I've been offered 5-10 podcast opportunities in the past 2 weeks. So even though they're not, the international speaking opportunities that I do want in the future, I do believe these are all being put in my path to eventually, do more and more speaking opportunities and bigger speaking opportunities. So you can start really small with just saying like, I want, for me, it was like, I want to be on a podcast. And next minute I've been on 5 podcasts. So it's like, you are doing things, but yeah, it's literally just about writing in the present tense, like it's already happened. You can say that you're happy and grateful for it happening. you can feel all the feels about it to make you feel really positive and high five about it, and then take action in alignment with that. And it's likely that those things that you've scripted down will eventually, in their own time, come true. And the thing is, if they don't, it might just be that the universe is putting something else in your path. It might be that you need to start kind of really tuning into other signs that might be happening around you. So like for me, that Facebook post about this job came up, and if I just scrolled 2 minutes before, I probably would have missed it. Like it just depends where you are. You've really got to be actively kind of being active for the signs that might happen as well around you at the same time. And it might be that there's a different direction the universe wants you to go in, and it's nudging you towards a different outcome based on a similar thing. But yeah, I think it's a great technique. I definitely don't do enough of it. I think I want to be doing a lot more scripting in my life now, especially now that I've got, I did a bit before I became a coach, because I wanted to take my business full time and be self-employed, and I always wanted to work for myself, and that I've scripted a lot about, and now it's happened. So I almost just need to think about what my next things are, and obviously start scripting about them. Yeah, it's just putting stuff out to the world, and yeah, making it happen.
Awesome, Heidi. This is so inspiring. Thank you so very much. I don't know about listeners, but I also am feeling more inspired to do more of this myself. So thank you, Heidi, for the great inspiration. What a lovely chat. Finally, Heidi, as we wrap up, I would love to know if there's anything else that you would like to add, anything else that you would like to share, and then where and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, no, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been really lovely to talk about this today, actually. It's been a very nice conversation. But yeah, I just want to remind people that there's no pressure around gratitude. You don't have to show this to anyone. It's completely a isolated practice. Like, you don't need to be sharing your gratitude or sharing your scripting with anyone else. It can be very personal. No one even has to know that you're doing it if you are not at the stage yet that you're happy to tell people that you're into gratitude journaling. So yeah, and just to remind you that you do have enough with what you have now. So just be thankful for what you have now. And when you do love what you have, and you love your job, or you love your house, or you love whoever you're with, you really do have everything you need, and you don't need to search externally for it, because you already have it. And even like me, wanting the next thing is fine, but I'm still grateful for what I have now, and I'm still happy with what I have now. So don't think you always have to be, scripting for the next thing, because you can just be happy with what you have now. In terms of people getting in touch with me, I mainly reside over in Instagram. So my handle is at HeidiHigh_coach. But you can also find me just on Facebook, Heidi Lesiw. I'm more than happy for people to add me as friends. And if you do want to get in touch, you can just email me at my email is hello@heidilesiw.com, or heidi@heidilesiw.com, if you just want to have a chat. But yeah, obviously, I am a coach, so if any of this stuff is interesting to you, there's a lot on my Instagram page about this stuff and more. But yeah, Instagram is my main sort of place to be at the moment.
Wonderful. Well, Heidi, we're so thankful that you were here for a moment. So thank you so very much for joining us for Chats Along the Path. It's been such a great chat. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Christian.
Yes, and thank you all for listening. Such an honor to have you join us, sending you blessings and best wishes for your journey. Gratitude. Thanks for tuning in to this Chat Along the Path. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for walking the path. Blessings and best wishes for your journey. Journaling, ritual, silence.